welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and, of course, I am joined today by Heath Mulliken. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Do not adjust your sets, fans. It's great to be with you on the Tapped Out show, covering another side of wrestling this week. So I'm excited to jump in. Excited to be here today.
Yeah, man. Look, we've got lots of conversations. If you joined us yesterday for the Tapped In Indie Wrestling Podcast show, look, we discussed a little bit of stuff about, hey, and it's coming today. Well, we're recording it today. Let me back up. So, about the WWE ID program, some things we found some information out. We're going to discuss that. But, of course, we're going to discuss that over behind the Patreon wall, patreon.com/tapped-out-pod, because we announced as of, again, yesterday, if you were listening, everything paywall is moving to Patreon. All the memberships off of YouTube. We are trying to slowly encourage everybody. I gave them a little bit of an incentive to go ahead and move to Patreon from the YouTube. Now, listen, if you just want to catch the show on the regular, when they regularly schedule drop, nothing behind the paywall, tappedoutpod.com still takes you to the YouTube channel. Absolutely, you won't miss anything. We're going to put the show up there, the 2 shows a week, and some select products or shows that we do. But all of the exclusive and the bonus and all of the extra stuff will be at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. We appreciate everybody who's supported us over the years. We just want to give you more things, and then it's a little bit difficult to post some things on YouTube, so we just kind of made this choice to make it all back over to the Patreon page.
And if you've never done Patreon before, when you subscribe, when you join Patreon, at whatever level, you get everything from the past. Like, you don't just get what was released that week. You can go back, if I recorded something earlier this year for Patreon, you get that if you're on that level. And again, like Nick said, man, just grateful for everybody's support. And constantly, I say this on the other show all the time, constantly coming up with ideas for more Patreon content. And so going forward, going to be some different stuff that I'm going to be trying out. Heath in front of a dry erase board, booking some indie wrestling. So I'm excited for that.
We're excited. I'm going to share this kind of as a surprise. I know you can do live on YouTube, but it can be kind of wonky, but you can do some live stuff on Patreon, like from your phone and some things like that. And I thought that might potentially be something we can get into down the road as well. We can do some live stuff, and you can sell shows on Patreon. Oh. We can give specials. We can give discounts. We can gift membership. There's just so much more opportunities there, in my opinion. So, and I think in the long run, I think everybody will be happy. Unlike this past weekend. Let's jump right into it, because I know we both wanted to talk about it a little bit. I know we're a wrestling podcast, but we are going to discuss Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. First and foremost, you watched it. I know I watched it, so we both watched it.
Yes.
I'll let you start. What's your take on it?
It was so fascinating to me. For those of you who don't know, I work at a university. I basically live right next to campus. I watched this in one of the dorms with about 20 students. That made it so much more fun to hear them, 100% of these students pulling for Mike Tyson. They just wanted Jake Paul to get beat up. We had so many problems with the feed. Basically, the entire women's match, we were trying to get it working where we could watch it on this big TV. And once the match started, it was, you and I are getting older, and it was, I mean, this was, I don't even know how to say this. Like, you and I grew up watching Mike Tyson in his prime. These kids have never seen Mike Tyson in his prime.
No.
Mike Tyson, I know without a shadow of a doubt going in, he had 20-year-old Mike Tyson mental. He was ready. And the spirit was willing, but the flesh was weak. And it became really sad. It became really sad.
So was it sad or was it like? Here's the thing. I was talking to somebody. My daughter. She was watching. Like this is it. A kid who doesn't watch. Like
Yeah.
she knows who Jake and Logan Paul are. That's why she's watching.
Yeah.
By the way, 60 million homes watched it, which we'll discuss that in a
Yeah.
minute, right? But I went into it going, he's 58. Like what you said, you can have the will, but sometimes like, hey, 58's 58. And I think he gave us exactly when they were like, he's not even trying. No, he's gassed. He gave us everything he had. I honestly believe Heath, and this is where, like, do we get into the debate of like, hey, it was rigged, it was, it was fake or whatever? I'm like, well, first of all, they were punching each other, so it was about if it was predetermined, it was about as wrestling gets, right?
Right. Right.
Do you
Yeah.
think it was?
I've read videos. I mean, I've watched videos that talk about, well, Tyson's contract said this, and I don't know. I was reminded, late 90s, early 2000s, me and my friends and I, we were getting, I would say in the 90s, we got about every major boxing pay-per-view. If it was Holyfield, Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe. And I was very, very much reminded how many of those fights, the Lennox Lewis Riddick Bowe fight was one of the most boring things I've ever sat through. Because if you grew up, I don't mean to belabor the point, if you grew up watching Rocky, it gave you a completely unrealistic view of professional boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Boxing is strategic. Even Floyd Mayweather is a defensive boxer. He's trying to hit his spots. He's not really trying to knock you out. He's trying to outbox you. It's called the sweet science. Anyway, yeah, but everybody in that room was disappointed. And if there were 20 people watching at all 60 million homes, those numbers are huge.
Right. We'll discuss that for a second. I always just say, hey, average has got to be around 2 people per home. We clearly think that was not even like, we think we were well past that.
Yes, at
but
least
120 million, insane.
Yeah.
So to come back to your buffering problems, I don't want to go there yet because I want to address one other thing. If let's say it was predetermined and they worked everything out, I'll tell you what it did do. Logan Paul was a mastermind promoter. That he got all this money, he drew all these eyes, and okay, first of all, I wish this thing had not been sanctioned as an actual match, and they would have outright just said it's an exhibition.
Yes.
That's what I wish. Didn't happen, so be it. But what it did do, how many people saw those undercard matches and were like, specifically the women's match, were like, holy cow, those two went out there and just like, now I'm looking for the next time one of those two fight.
Yes. Here's the thing. The story coming up with Mike Tyson was how much promoters took advantage of him. All the boxers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. How much Jake Paul is his own promoter. It's like they own the promotion company. So he is controlling everything. It is sheer brilliance how I don't know if manipulate's the right word, but that's what they're doing. And I didn't hear the interview, but they were interviewing the guy that runs the actual promotion side of it, talking about, hey, we want to bring women's boxing to the forefront. And brother, they did that. They also brought my biggest pet peeve about boxing, in that you look at the statistics, and the person that statistically should have won that bout did not win that bout because it went to the judges' scorecards. And once it goes to the judges' scorecards, anything can happen.
If you don't knock somebody out, you're at the mercies of it's, and that's just the way it goes, unfortunately. If you leave it up to the judges, now if you're a Floyd Mayweather who lets it go to the scorecards, but the problem is he makes it where it's not even close. He's
That's
throwing
right.
jab, 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 jab. He's racking up points to where it's just blatantly obvious. The only way you're going, I always make a statement about Floyd Mayweather when he was at his prime. The only way you're beating him is knocking him out. Like, you're not going to the scorecards and beating him.
Floyd Mayweather boxed like Tetris instead of Mortal Kombat. He's trying to find all the different angles and just trying to rack up points. He ain't trying to kill you.
Yeah. So, but how this all ties into wrestling. Let's go ahead and get to the end. And there's a theory out there. They're cutting. They're doing their post match interviews. They asked Mike if he's, is he going to do it again? I don't want to get into should Mike Tyson box again, because I think we probably agree on that answer, that it's a glaring no, he should not. But when he kind of referenced Logan Paul standing to the back into to the side, Logan Paul's reaction, it's funny. Literally the moment he reacted, I texted somebody and said, Mania. If Mike needs it, he got $20 million, let's say, for this fight. I'm not saying he needs the money, but if he wants another payday, the only place, in my opinion, like, I don't know how Texas Athletic Commission, passed him to let him, let him fight. Mm-hmm. That's a whole other set of questions. But I think the only way he gets it again, that he has any type of physical confrontation, it's in a WWE, And by the way, I know he's done AEW stuff. Give Mike another WWE WrestleMania moment, and I think that's against a Logan Paul. Dude, I'm all in.
Well, no. Did you see what I saw was that somebody was promoting Logan Paul versus Jake Paul with Mike Tyson in Jake Paul's corner. That, hey, Jake's upset that Logan disrespected him. Anyway, either way, anyhow they do it, it's money. Take my money.
Would you do? Here's the question. Well, their problem is they would make too much money if they did it in a box, and they promoted it and they fought. Everybody's going all in to see it. So doing it at a WWE thing's not even going to be. Or do they double dip and go, hey, we're going to do it here, and then we're going to have a wrestling match? Because that's what Logan does now. Logan's argument, I wrestle now. I don't box anymore.
Yeah, right.
I officially retired, so why don't you come and let's do this in a WWE ring? Or how about Jake Paul, Logan Paul, Mike Tyson special guest referee?
Or the special enforcer, and then the moment is Mike Tyson knocks out Logan Paul.
Or he knocks out Jake Paul because Logan Paul got in his ear and said he's the one who talked you into coming in and beat you, not me. I mean, look, you can go so many ways from Sunday on it.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a great concept. Overall, look, we were just curious, what are your thoughts on the Tyson, Paul match? Look, good, bad, or indifferent. I think, but, from the production side, let us know your thoughts, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. But the other thing is, now we're going to get into the wrestling piece of it really deep. Everybody complaining about the buffering issues. What say you?
That's not going to be a problem with WWE. WWE is, first of all, the numbers that they're doing, we've never seen that anywhere. Like, we've never seen any those kind of streaming numbers really anywhere. WWE's not going to get those numbers. The production value, WWE's already got that. WWE is a production company. We're not going to have those issues. Calm down. You don't need to call your congressman. I am so excited, and I've told everybody this. I don't have cable. Knowing that next year I can watch Raw on Netflix anytime I want to, and then also have AEW, I can get HBO Max and watch that. Super excited to watch some more wrestling. And I think they're going to pull out. We're getting ready to get into it. I think that next Netflix debut is going to be huge. It's going to pop a huge number.
Well, we'll jump there. I just want to also reiterate what you said. Dude, they already stream to Peacock. They do
Yes.
pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever. So they're used to it. If they just work on tweaking a thing here and there, they're going to figure it out. By the way,
Yeah.
Netflix are going to they got another huge test with the NFL on Christmas.
Yes.
I promise you, NFL's not going to. Look, I'm first to say I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine the NFL's going to let that fly.
No.
I'm going to throw you for a loop. We're going to jump. I want to jump in the notes because we are talking about them coming to Netflix. Blame me. I put it out of order where it should have been in the notes. Let's go for
It's
that.
all good.
They're going all out. This past week, past few days for that matter, Triple H, Paul Levesque shows up at a Travis Scott concert, hands him a title, which we'll address that in a minute, and essentially is like, hey, Travis Scott's going to be, first it's kind of like, hey, he's going to be at the first Raw on Netflix. Oh, by the way, we find out it's because the new theme of Raw, when it goes to Netflix, is going to be a Travis Scott song. Does this scream to you, we're going younger with Raw?
Yes.
Netflix, streaming service, younger demo. Travis Scott, new theme, younger demo. Like you could see the writing on the wall. This is going to be the younger demo show. I think they're going at for it. And I'll let you get into some of that before I move on to that title that was on his shoulder.
They are, again, they're going all in. They're going with someone. I don't know if other people follow sneakers. I follow a lot of sneaker stuff. The Travis Scott Nikes are like a gold mine. You're talking about someone who, to this generation, culturally relevant, cross-platform. So to bring him in, and then the possibility of what you're getting ready to say, the possibility of him not just being your theme song, but maybe even being even more involved. I mean, WWE is in this. I mean, for heaven's sake, we saw Jelly Roll, choke slam Austin Theory from the heavens at WrestleMania last year. But I think what they're doing with Travis Scott is going to be very interesting.
Again, because like I said, we were talking, they're bringing in that younger. They're coming in young. I think they are being very, TKO, by the way, in case you're not, if you're just not figured this out, TKO is very strategic with everything they do.
Yes.
Hey, we're going to go USA. That'll still be, that, because look, it's an older crowd typically that's watching the USA Network. Yeah. They are. I think CW, NXT, maybe that's an attempt to try to go a little bit younger. Could be. It ain't even disputable that this Netflix thing is going, let's go younger. And what you talked about is, so he walks out, Paul Levesque puts that, it's a hardcore title, is what he puts on his. Now, this is all rumor and innuendo at this point. There's conversation that on Netflix, maybe Travis Scott reintroduces that hardcore title. He's got a ties to Cactus Jack. I mean, that's kind of a thing of his. So it's like, does he go, he reintroduces it back into the WWE, because now there's really no restrictions on what they can do in a hardcore match in WWE on Netflix. Just make it very specific. It's only on Netflix.
Yes.
That's a great time filler, because you know what you can do, by the way? I just thought of this, and I cannot believe I just thought of this. Cinematic hardcore matches, because they're backstage. You can film them ahead of time and just plug them in. You don't have to do them live. You don't have to worry about things going wrong and all that kind of stuff. You can completely film them backstage and just air them.
That's a pretty brilliant dude.
You can go out of your way to safely set up things that are not obviously, you know, like, you know what I mean? Because it's when you do things live, yes, stuff can go wrong. Hey, we're going to do the spot. Well, what if this doesn't? Don't worry about it. We'll just put it back together. We'll reshoot it if it doesn't go right. They can lean into that cinematic stuff, into the hardcore stuff, do crazy, wacky things. What happens if the Wyatt Six get involved in the hardcore title, and it goes hardcore, cinematic? I mean, like, there's so much there. And I think that's that's a good way, by the way, if you're filling a 3-hour show on a streaming service with no commercial, you know, obviously the ads or whatever. But
Right.
I think that the potential's there, and but it does edgy, and if you attach Travis Scott to it, and you attach that theme, like, it just screams young, 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 because they're always chasing that next fan base.
And then you bring him in for WrestleMania. Travis Scott, Mike Tyson, the Paul brothers. You want to talk about there are people that have not watched a wrestling pay-per-view in a long time, but if they hear Mike Tyson, they would buy it. They would subscribe to Peacock, whatever they need to do to watch Mike Tyson.
Even today, Eric Bischoff says when he saw Tyson on Raw, that's when he knew they were in trouble.
Yeah.
No other moment, like when Tyson's on Raw, like that was the first, like, and I still think that, how crazy is it that we're talking 30 years later plus, and we still, like, and I get everybody's like, oh, his reputation's going to take a ding because of what he did with Jake Paul and the boxing man. I don't disagree. I said something, look, knock him all you want. I tipped my cap to that 58-year-old man is great. You know,
Yes.
getting into that shape, getting in there and going for 8 rounds, period, was all. He took punches, folks, you know, but it is what it is. I still think he would be a great addition. And it's WrestleMania is a fine line of pulling the new crowd. You do that with Travis Scott, Logan Paul.
Right.
But they also want the nostalgia. And, you know, and here's the problem, folks. A lot of that nostalgia getting over. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we get Goldberg and Tyson. Not against each other, but they're both on the show, and there's some of the nostalgia for you. By the way, I also have a prediction that Stone Cold is involved in WrestleMania this year. Somehow, some way. I'm not saying he's wrestling. I'm just saying he'll be there. He will be there this year. So,
I think with WrestleMania being 2 nights, you can overload it. You can overload it. You can put 8 matches on each night. You can have a bunch of segments, and you can do a lot more. This is going to be one of the dumbest, most obvious things. You can do a lot more 2 nights than you can with 1.
Yeah. And by the way, make sure you're signing up on our Patreon page. I can't tease this enough. We're going to discuss what you could do, what they might do with during the day of some of those 2-night WrestleMania. So
yes.
But look, we've got some other pay-per-views and all that kind of stuff. We got to get PLEs, call them what you will, before we get there. First, before we jump to, you know, the AEW one this weekend, we were texting back and forth. And how bananas was this? I text you something, and then the next thing you know, we see it all over social media, and I'm like, is it great minds, or is it just like, you know, what? So obviously this past week on Raw, they're, you know, the OG Bloodline's doing everything in their power to get Seth Rollins to, you know, join them, because they've got Bronson Reed over on the new Bloodline, blah, blah, blah. Seth just absolutely adamantly is like, it's not happening. He will never, under any circumstances, stand side by side with Roman Reigns. He's a tyrant, and if he joins him and they win this match and it puts him back in control, he'll go right back to being the same guy he was before. By the way, how have we not thought that is a possibility? Valid point, Seth. I was like, well, as soon as he said it, I'm like, now granted, hey, I get it, storyline, we're supposed to believe wholeheartedly, like, but he's learned his lesson. Has he, though?
Yeah, I don't know. Here's another thing too, and I don't mean to jump too far ahead. We've been critical of other promotions that jump too quick to a WarGames match.
Sure.
The good thing about this one is they've kind of kept a lot of people separated, But it's like normally WarGames is like the ender, but I think this is kicking off. They could do this for a year. This is kicking off just a huge, huge storyline. And I think we're getting ready to talk about who that last member might be. And no matter where they go with it, I'm excited about it and I want to see it.
Well, look, again, I think every sign points to over the next, week and a half, I guess. Clearly, we're getting to Seth. I mean, that's the given answer. Everybody's just, it's Seth. And let's take Seth for his word that under no circumstances whatsoever would he join. It's like, well, who do you add? Well, we've teased the Paul Heyman phone call. And you pointed out something about the phone call he makes. And it's like, the following number you have reached is not in service. And then you brought up, I'll let you kind of throw that out there.
Well, they smashed his phone. Earlier this year, Solo got Paul Heyman's phone and destroyed it. So that phone, that number is no longer working. And I do think now that people are connecting those dots. Because at first I was like, all right, who is he calling? I think it's clear he's calling Heyman.
Well, he said call the wise man. So yeah. He clearly was calling him. By the way, I want to hit a pause button. We get how phones work. He could get a new phone and use the same number, but don't let the facts ruin a good story. We're running with that.
That's right.
So, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure because I know somebody's going to be in comments or they're going to be messaging saying like, "Well, you can just." I get it.
So if they put it out there, he's calling Heyman. The question is, who is Heyman calling? There's two candidates that we think.
Yep.
No, and both these guys have been off TV, one longer than the others. CM Punk or Brock Lesnar. Either one of those is a huge pop.
Listen, the irony of Punk would be that it would be 1 year. It would be Survivor Series to survive, the return. And I know he hasn't been gone as long, but he's kind of was out of sight, out of mind. And now, of course, the stories are coming out like, hey, he's going to play a big role, So I think, do they accept a 4-on-5? They're like, hey, we're just going to go in a man short. We can't get anybody. Mm-hmm. The new bloodline thinks, hey, we've got them. We've got them outnumbered. There's nothing. By the way, let's preface here. I haven't been a fan of Bronson Reed being the fifth man on the other team from the get-go, so it doesn't matter. But whatever.
Yeah.
But I understand. He's a big monster. I get it. Like, I understand the pick, but why not just call one of your other cousins, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncle, whatever.
Right.
But I do think when the fifth person's turn to enter the cage is in, Heyman walks out, we get the, and then that's when he reveals, because he's got two other Heyman guys that are associated with the company. I'm being very loose in the easy answer is Punk, right? It's just, that's the easy, like, hey, he just comes back. Why would he join? And I asked you we had the conversation. Why would Punk even do this? There's only one answer, and that's what?
Mm-hmm. That eventually he either wants Roman's spot or he wants the title, right?
I think it's the sample as this. Paul asked him.
Well, that's true too. I think
he loves Paul enough. Yeah, they at the Hall of Fame speech, he's sitting next to his son. Like, Punk is next to his son.
Right.
So, like, if that's their relationship, why did you do it, Punk? The easy answer to justify it is, I didn't do it for Roman. I didn't do it for any of them. I did it for my friend Paul. Because guess what that also does? It gives you the easy out after. We're not connected. We're not bonded. I'm out.
If you go with Lesnar, and I apologize, I can't. I have trouble. Who's the one that's kind of like the werewolf kind of guy?
Jacob Fatu.
If you bring back Lesnar, now you got Lesnar and Jacob Fatu.
Or
possibly at WrestleMania.
Lesnar and Bronson Reed.
I am starting to think You and I know a few things, and I wonder if Bronson Reed was the original person for that spot.
No,
Yeah.
I do not.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's why I don't think it would be Bronson Reed doing Les or taking on Lesnar then.
But I look. You want to tell me I get Jacob Fatu versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? I'm all in.
Yes. Yes. Take my
So
money. Take my
yeah.
money.
So let us know who you would want it to be. Who would you want it? Would you want it to be Punk? Would you want it to be or do you want it to be Seth? For that matter, I mean, look, that's a vote, and I understand every reason why, the Seth Bronson Reed. But I thought we had moved on, kind of, sort of, but clearly we have not. It's probably going to be Seth, but I think there's more story. I think there's interesting twist with the other two. TappedOutPod@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts are.
It's just nice that wrestling isn't so predictable right now. We're in a good season. We're in a good era of wrestling right now.
And we have, by the way, how crazy is it? We actually have some options that we would be okay with multiple of those options.
Yes.
Because if you give me Seth, I'm not going to be disappointed. Because I get it. It makes total sense. Like, hey, he's going to continue to feud with Bronson. And by the way, do we get I don't know. Maybe we're predicting. I was going to move on, but I got to ask you this. Is there a Roman save Seth moment in that WarGames so we finally get the embrace of a Seth and a Roman post-match? Is it a hug? Is it a simple handshake? Something like that I would never do this, but I have to. Like, or are they getting beat down 5-on-4 and Seth finally just can't take it and he runs in?
Dude, again, it's like pick your own adventure, and there are no bad options.
No, I think it's gold.
I don't know. I would personally, in this era of WWE, they seem to be. They give you what you want, like with Cody, but they make you wait. And then when you finally get it, you're like, okay, that was worth the wait. So maybe that handshake comes later against a bigger opponent, perhaps. I don't know. It remains to be seen.
Ready to be seen. But hey, look, we're discussing the PLE. We're a couple weeks away from this thing, but there's one this weekend. A big one for that matter. AEW Full Gears this Saturday, man.
This Saturday, this is a big card, and my plan as of right now is to watch this with my good friend Mark, and we were texting earlier today, figuring out our plans. This could be. It feels like lots being written that we're feeling a shift in AEW, that they've kind of been in this, I don't know, holding pattern, not really knowing what they're doing. And there's this shift with, with John Moxley's group. And now with John Moxley and Orange Cassidy, we talked about earlier that it seems like Orange Cassidy, if you had told me 2 years ago, this would be the spot he would be in, I'd be like, nah. But they built that up. A lot of good matches, on this card. The thing I love about AEW, one of the biggest complaints about WWE back in the day is if two guys are wrestling at a pay-per-view, they would face off every week, tag team match, 6-man match, single. They would. AEW, we haven't seen Hangman Page. If he's wrestled Jay White, it's been maybe once. MJF and Roderick Strong, they've never wrestled in a singles match.
They do a great job of like going out of their way. Like, look, can it happen? We're not saying it never happens,
right?
But they seem like they legitimately go out of their way to keep people apart, so you finally get it at the pay-per-view.
Yes, that's right. And if someone has never watched AEW, they could tune into this pay-per-view and they're going to tell you how we got here. And by the time that match comes to the ring, you're going to feel like you know who's wrestling and kind of whose side you're on. I'm looking forward to the 4-way AEW tag team private party. The Outrunners, if you've not seen them, so entertaining. Their social media promos, their throwback to the 80s. They're kind of like a mix of the Road Warriors and the Dynamic Dudes, if it's even legal for me to say that. Kings of the Black Throne, the Acclaimed. That's going to be entertaining. An entertaining match, kind of bringing it close to home. AJ from the Costco guys taking on QT Marshall, who just released a diss track against this guy.
If you have not seen it, it is an absolute must, and I mean an absolute must listen. Hey, I did not know that QT had that in him.
You were playing it, and I was listening to him like, is that QT? Is he like on pitch? I mean, of course, they got auto tune and stuff. Again, this is a loaded card. That's on 0 hour, so that one you can watch for free on YouTube.
Yes, and I mean absolutely, it'll be a must watch. And if you're not watching it Saturday, I may, because I'm going to be doing the family Thanksgiving thing, and I'm not sure if I'm done by the time. Maybe I can jump in late, catch some of it later. We'll see. But I'm not excited for this. Let me back up, because I'm not saying I'm excited for this, but I think it's a crucial thing. We discussed the Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander match.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, somebody has to be. I hate the whole like somebody's got to be the grown up in the room. Somebody's got to be the business person or the creative person in the room and say, this is a pivotal match for her. We've come to the fact that we don't. I'm guessing, because we've all come to this assumption that she just can't talk very well.
Yes.
Her promos are not good.
No.
So her strength in WWE was she was putting on really good matches with a lot of good women. Now, there was a case to be made. She was wrestling some pretty good talents.
Yes.
So was it them? Was it her? Was it both? It's probably both, kind of whatever. But what you're going to find out, though, but is she good enough to be the one who carries somebody? Because we've talked about the shallow, it's not deep as far as the actual in-ring ability. I know a lot of people don't like certain wrestlers, but I like them. It's okay.
Yes.
Chris Statlander is a very good wrestler.
Yes.
I don't think she's great.
Right.
Or elite, maybe is the word I'm looking for, but she's very good. This should be a good match. If it's not, now we have to start questioning ourselves a little bit. Was that $5 million that's rumored, was it a bad investment?
If you are going to be that person, Mercedes Moné, if you're going to be the face of that division, that means you have to elevate people. She hasn't elevated anyone. And on top of that, she has de-elevated herself. You flip that with the men's world championship. Jon Moxley has elevated Orange Cassidy, and people can argue about whether Jon Moxley's a good wrestler or what. He's elevated Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy had to meet that, and when it comes to Mercedes Moné, it's almost like, all right, can we turn whatever we got to do? What we're doing is not working in the least. And but it's not like the NFL where they're not guaranteed contracts and you can just cut someone and walk away. I didn't even mention, holy cow, Swerve Strickland, Bobby Lashley, the Hurt Business, or whatever they're calling
Hurt
it.
Syndicate.
Hurt Syndicate. That's interesting.
Pause. I'm going to ask you something. I saw a number today.
Okay.
If it's accurate, I heard there's $10 million invested in the members of the Hurt Syndicate.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't believe any of the numbers anybody says about AEW. I just don't. I just don't believe any of the numbers. When AEW first started, somebody put out a list and they were like, "Oh, Cody's making 10 million and Moxley's making 8." And it was like the most preposterous thing. And
I'm only making a face because there was one wrestler that I heard a massive number for, and that number was confirmed.
Oh. You have different. You have sources. You have sources that Meltzer doesn't have. Can we say that?
He's got a ton. By the way, for the record, he's got a ton that I don't even have any conversations with. So yes,
correct.
I got you.
Correct. If you're saying that, then I'll just say initially I'm skeptical when I hear these numbers.
Yeah, if you tell me certain wrestlers, I would say I don't know. At least I'm honest about it. Like, hey, I've heard this, but I don't know.
Right.
When it was one particular wrestler, I was like, I'm in on that one. Like, I believe that one because of who it came from and who it was, etc. But anyway, and then I can't believe you haven't mentioned, by the way, Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay.
That's where I was just going. This to me, why did Will Ospreay sign with AEW? Will Ospreay is in the prime of his career. He is getting paid very well. He did not have to move to the United States, and he is able to wrestle his best friend, Kyle Fletcher, which would not have happened had he signed with WWE. Absolutely 100% would not have happened. And
you know what's funny? I saw in Duluth them wrestle.
Oh, they wrestled
that. They wrestled at it was like one of his first matches.
Ah, okay. But that's when they were. It was like a friendly match.
Oh, it was a very friendly match. Yeah, there was no feud. Yeah, there was a. I think Kyle already had like one of the Ring of Honor belts.
Yeah,
I can't remember whatever, and it was like Ospreay's like one of his first matches with the company, and it was like, hey, we're gonna put him on TV. Let's make him look spectacular. Hey, pull Kyle in. They'll tear the house down, and everybody will be impressed. And I think so that was done for that way. This one's personal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Again, I think I've missed 2 AEW pay-per-views since they started. So big fan, and then we haven't even talked about this. AEW often becomes like a Marvel movie. You got to stay for the credits, and the fact is, we don't know what's going to happen. We're pretty sure we're going to get at least one debut. Possibly, the rumors have been that it's Shane McMahon behind the whole Moxley stuff. That's huge.
Do you buy that? Before we get moving, I just got to ask you: do you buy that? Do you think it's Shane McMahon? Because did they let the noise get quiet a little bit about him coming in, and then they'll pull the trigger on it?
What I mean, it was one of the other pay-per-views we were watching, and we thought, oh, this is going to be Shane McMahon. This is going to be Shane. It wasn't. So, I don't know. I don't know. In wrestling, typically where there's smoke, there's fire. But you want to talk about here. I guess there's 2 questions. Number one, do I think this is going to happen? Maybe. I think it would be exciting. 2, is it the smart thing, right thing to do? Is Shane McMahon coming in, is he content just to be an on-screen character? Like, no creative input. He's just a character on the show.
Isn't that why he left WWE? He wanted to be more involved, and Dad was like, nope.
Shane McMahon, for whatever issues there were with his relationship with his father, he got that from his father. He's a showman, and he's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see.
Time will tell. Absolutely. So that is Full Gear. That is a Saturday, but we might be busy because this coming weekend, just like every single week, we at the Tapped Out Podcast Network make the drives. That is right. It's time for Making the Drives, brought to you by JMartinCompany.com for all your pressure washing, window, gutter, all of your needs around your home. JMartinCompany.com. That's the only people I personally trust. They've done my house, my driveway, my gutters, done it all. Even trust the family with them. JMartinCompany.com. That's who we trust, and that's who he's making the drives. Well, man, look, it's going to be it's a pretty loaded week, but let's be honest, it's a little bit of a light week. As you know, when it's kind of like, how can both things be true? They can be true. I think the quantity's not there, but I think there's some really important shows this weekend. And let's start right this Friday. So you're tied up Friday, right? Because I'm the one. I think I'm going to go down to Fayetteville. Action Wrestling at the Line Creek Bus Barn in Fayetteville, Georgia. Bell time's at 8. Fridays, a lot of them are 8, guys. Keep that in mind. Arms wide open. I'm like, hey, Creed fans, is this what we're doing here? But it wouldn't shock me with Matt Griffin there. But at Action Wrestling, Bobby Flacco, his first big, this is, in my opinion, his first big title defense against a guy who's been gone for a while.
Yes.
When I saw Warhorse was coming back to challenge, perked my ears up, and I think Nick's going to make the drive to Fayetteville for Action Wrestling this Friday.
Warhorse has completely changed his gimmick since he would have been in Action Wrestling. Former IWTV world champion, I believe. And this is going to be a huge test for Bobby Flacco for his first title defense.
1,000%. And look, what I can say positive about what Warhorse has done, I think more people could kind of take this lesson. There's always the old saying, the old timers said, go away and learn a new hold. But sometimes, Bruce Pritchard famously says they need a new coat of paint, right? Like just go out there, right, repackage it, come back, and it's refreshing. It's not just a guy returning, it's a whole new presentation. And sometimes that's all it is. You can just go stale.
That's right. Adam Priest taking on one called Manders, who just lost that title, the Action title, to Bobby Flacco. So he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Adam Priest was born with a chip on his shoulder. And both of these guys understand a loss here starts pushing them down the pecking order, not just in Action, but IWTV, SCI stuff. That's a huge proving ground match for both those guys.
Oh, I 100%. It doesn't say it on the marquee or on the poster, the match graphic, call it whatever you want to. It doesn't say number one contender for the Action title, but it kind of is. Like, we kind of understand the fact that the winner of this match is kind of jockeying for position to be, I'm next in line. You could bring Warhorse in this show, whatever, but you just got that vibe. Look, it could be somebody else, and there's a million ways to earn it. But either one of these guys, whoever wins this match, I think makes a pretty good case for, being the guy to step to Bobby Flacco. That's just my opinion. So,
the match that I'm seeing here that has a chance to steal the show is Darian Bankston and Grayson Pierce. Those guys are going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at each other. Two athletic guys, and both with, Bankston, he's been climbing the ranks. Grayson Pierce, somebody who's he is at that point trying to make his mark in Georgia and beyond, and I think they're going to tear the house down.
They both understand that they're at this point in their careers, we've got to steal. This is why, by the way, this could be the show stealer, because these two hey, we've got to look. Darian Bankston's been there. He's had some really great matches, and he's working his way. Grayson Pierce, kind of the same, like but you want to start skyrocketing up the card, get noticed, and I think that's what these two are going to do. And this could be my sleeper pick for the show, the show stealer, as they call them, as the kids call them, the show stealer. As I absolutely think these two will go out of their way to catch the eye of the powers that be at Action Wrestling.
Absolutely,
1,000%.
Absolutely.
New Legacy Pro, Franklin, Georgia, bell time 8 p.m. at the Heard County Rec Center. That's also on Friday. It's a special food drive event, by the way. Lots of, it's that time of year. Like, it's, if you want to be, hey, we want to support the community and all that kind of stuff, there's lots of wrestling shows that'll kind of help you do that. Go out so you can have a good time, help a good cause, all of those types of things. Xander Orrick looks to continue. Like, he's had a little successful run coming as of late. He's going to go on and face Stevie Ray Frost on this show. The Wonder Boys, they're going to look. Dirt Road Dynasty's been an issue with them. They look to kind of end that, hopefully, and get back to on their winning ways. AJ Black is going to face Alexander Lev. He's earned an opportunity to become the new Legacy Pro champion. Alexander Lev has had a pretty good grip on that thing. He's been fending off defender after defender. Do you think AJ Black actually, has an opportunity to take this from him?
I think when you look at Alexander Lev around the horn in Georgia, to my knowledge right now, this is the only title that he has. And I know that he's had some pretty big losses in other places. And the question is, the challenge of being a champion, the way to being a champion, can Alexander Lev carry that weight? But then you got AJ Black, who is hungry. We talk about him on both shows every week. Kid is everywhere. So if I'm placing a bet, I'm not placing. I don't know that I'm placing a bet on this one. I think both of these guys have something to prove in my eyes.
That's a very fair assessment. Alexander Lev needs to. We talked about this yesterday on yesterday's show about Cody Fluffman. Like, hey, it's one thing to win; it's another thing to stay on the top of the mountain, and that's kind of where Lev is here in New Legacy Pro. And you've got all these people grabbing and pulling and tugging. Look, I think Lev is kind of on a hot streak there. I think he's on a lot of places for that matter. I would take Lev just because I think AJ Black is coming up. I don't know he's ready yet to be the guy there at New Legacy Pro. Not knocking him. I just think Lev's kind of firmly cemented himself at the top of that. So, again, check them out at New Legacy Pro, Franklin, Georgia, Heard County Rec Complex, easy for me to say, bell time at 8 o'clock. Then, of course, look, it's a Friday. Mm-hmm. So, of course, SCA is going to be right there in the Royston Dome in Royston, Georgia. Their bell time at 8 o'clock. And it's the big go-home show for their Black Friday show, man.
Yes, and I'm actually I'm thinking maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what's happening this weekend. And see if that's even possible for me. That's one of the closer shows for me. The big thing this week, two big things, been leading up to this. Jonathan Feltner and John the Body Johnson are going to have themselves a debate as fans are trying to decide who the final consultant is going to be. And then we talked yesterday about Hunter James getting pinned in the biggest upset, 6-man match, but he was pinned by Cliffhanger Chris. And Hunter James has challenged Cliffhanger Chris to singles action. And you want to talk about the biggest test of a young wrestler's career, Cliffhanger Chris. This is one of those matches you got to figure out if this is really what you want to do. Like, you're going to wake up Friday morning and you know that tonight you're facing off against Hollywood Hunter James. And you got to decide, okay, I really want to do this, or you know what, I've had a good run. I'm going to go, get a job or, go do something else with my life. What do you, I mean, Hunter James has got to be seething at this point, right?
It's one thing. Yes, we called it the biggest upset in Georgia wrestling, bar none. Cliffhanger Chris pinning Hunter James. And I said nothing that could happen for the rest of the year could absolutely, knock it off its perch. Except, I was waiting for today to go, except Hunter James, you thought you were embarrassed last week. If you lose this match in singles, I don't know that you'll ever live it down. Ever. And I say that because I probably won't let you. I will be the one that just I will probably not let you down. Now, on the other hand, I don't think Cliffhanger Chris has a remote chance. Like him or don't, Cliffhanger Chris is not in the league of pro wrestler that Hunter James is. This could get ugly, and it could get ugly fast. That's all I'm going to say on that.
If Hunter James loses this match cleanly, there will be a segment on both shows sponsored by, and this segment brought to you by Cliffhanger Chris's pinfall victory over Hunter. He's going to hate us even more than he already does if he loses this match.
Yeah, it's a massive. I think here's the thing. He may think, because you brought up Cliffhanger Chris waking up and being like, "Hey, can I do this?" I think all of the pressure is on Hunter James. If he beats Cliffhanger Chris, you should. You're supposed to. He never should have pinned you in any circumstance. If you lose, I don't know what it'll take for you to live that down. So that's something to keep in mind, Hunter James. So again, that is this Friday, Royston Dome, Royston, Georgia, bell time 8:00. By the way, don't just follow them on social media, follow them on their YouTube channel. And they have all their matches and stuff there as well. Just like all the promotions we talk about, make sure you're giving them a follow on social media. And by the way, when I put the post up or I share the posters, I try to tag every promotion to make it simple for you just to click and then go to their page and follow them, like them, whatever, depending on what you're doing. So, well, man, that's going to lead us into Saturday. And that leads us into this week's show of the week. And that is IWE is running the Kings of Controversy, kind of their big. It's their big show of the year. I would say it is. It's their big show. I know the next show is going to be huge and important for the long term, but Kings of Controversy is essentially kind of their big show. And I know there's lots of ramifications for the next show coming out of this one. But look, so a little trend we try to do here on the show. We predict all the matches, so we kind of do have to go through all of them, and we just pick. So we'll kind of do these a little bit quicker because there's a lot of matches on the show.
Yes.
Let's start with at the top, and we can bounce around if you want to, but go ahead.
Can I say off the top, number one, this is an 8-match loaded card. And IWE, this card is a great example of, for some of their angles, we're kind of in the middle, and there's going to be stuff happening at this show to go into the next show. There's going to be the end of some angles, and they've mixed in bringing in new talents. So about everything you could ask for a promotion to do, of looking for of continuing something, starting something, finishing something, new spaces. Kudos to IWE.
Yeah. So let's break the tradition. Let's go backwards.
Okay.
And you rattle them off, and we'll just pick until we get to the top 4, and then we'll kind of go a little more in depth. And I don't mean to cut anybody short on these other ones, but just time constraints. We're gonna, try to be brief.
Dante Khalifa, who is debuting in IWE, and I don't know a lot about him, is taking on Rayhan and Tias. That is 100%. Put all your money, put the farm on Rayhan and Tias.
1,000% behind you. Seen him a few times in person, and he's a stud.
Rob Killjoy, Owen Knight, and Fluff Man taking on the Hierarchy. This is kind of a precursor. At this show, Blackman and Kitchens are going to announce their War Games teams. I'm gonna chicken out. I'm gonna say this is like a double DQ match. This is gonna be brawling everywhere that only a cage can contain it.
No, I agree, and that we'll get to when we get to the finish here. I wanted to address who we think their teams are going to be, and I think there's a reason why this ends in a DQ. I'm with you.
I believe both these ladies are debuting in IWE, Maggie Lee and Brittany Jade. Also, kudos to IWE not just having a women's they're trying to build a true women's division. I don't know a lot about Maggie Lee. I have seen Brittany Jade. I've seen Brittany Jade in intergender action in the Carolinas. I think she's got a little bit of the experience edge, so I'm going Brittany Jade there.
Ditto. We're all okay. We're kind of getting. We got to have a tiebreaker at some point. That's what I always joke with, about on the show.
But Colby Carino versus Skrilla, where I believe the stipulation is if Skrilla loses, he has to leave IWE if he loses this match. Am I correct on that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. That's my fault. But here's the thing. We both have a lot of respect for Colby Carino.
Yes.
But right now, Skrilla's on a heater, and my money stays on Skrilla for right now.
I think I'm going Colby Carino. I think Skrilla is going to be in other places moving forward, and I think this is a good way to send him off in the sunset.
I just looked on the match graphic and I don't see anything about it, but
he did cut a promo. He cut a promo, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. We've been busy.
Oh no, he just told. I watched this promo. I always catch Skrilla's promos are good. He actually basically just said, basically he didn't keep it clean, so now he's going to be there to whoop his, and that's it. It was kind of a quick and to the point. So, I'm going Skrilla. You're going Carino. That might be our tiebreaker.
Yeah. Mayhem Championships, Chad Skywalker versus Shug D versus Brino Royce. If you're in Georgia, we saw Brino Royce earlier this year at the old Georgia Outlaw Wrestling before they moved to Royston. Brino Royce is a young man. He's wrestled mainly in the Carolinas, has held a lot of championships. He kind of adds a different dimension here. I think this is Chad Skywalker. I think he's going to successfully defend that title.
Yeah, we talked about him a little bit yesterday when I happened to catch him over at Kraken, and I told you that I think he's really clicking on all cylinders, and he's starting to hit a bunch of promotions and capture gold. And I find it very hard pressed that he would let this one get away from him.
Absolutely. Danny Jordan is defending that IWE women's title against Amira Rose. Danny Jordan for years has been one of the standards in Georgia female wrestling. And I think she's going to hold on to that title. I think IWE moving forward, until they bring back Lindsay Snow at some point, Danny Jordan is going to be the woman there.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, she hasn't had it long enough yet. I think you're going to see a very long. I wouldn't be shocked if there's like a 1-year reign, for Danny as their champion there. I wouldn't be shocked, But it's again, who are you going to step up and bring in to challenge her, or And I think that's the ultimate challenge: is you got to find somebody who's a worthy contender to come in there. And until they do, you could pretty much every show me go Danny Jordan, Danny Jordan, Danny Jordan.
All-Star Special defending those newly won IWE Tag Team titles against Exotic Youth. Exotic Youth, the last show, it was supposed to be them versus Buff and Fluff. Sean Legacy couldn't go, so it's essentially a handicap match against Fluff Man that they won. Here's the thing: is I think All-Star Special is my pick. But where does that leave Exotic Youth? Because we know All-Star Special's going to the War Games, right? Or that's what
We
I'm
assume.
assuming.
We assume. We
I'm
assume.
assuming they're going to the War Games. Oh, and I just realized something. I'm assuming they're going to the War Games with the tag team titles. But like, if you don't, that means, I mean, you got to figure what does Exotic Youth bring? You either got to have them in a hot feud with somebody, or they need to be your tag team champions. But I think All Star Special, they just won the titles. They don't need the titles in the War Games, so maybe Exotic Youth wins them here. I don't know.
Yeah, if you kind of can have that. You could take them off so the tag titles aren't involved in the War Games. Yeah, I could see. I'm going to take Youth. I think it's a good justification how we get those two in that match. Like, why are they in there? Like, because I think they're going to interfere. I think the hierarchy is going to do because they, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to do everything they can to get them off. So I could actually see, them being the case. I honestly, my pick's going to be that. I am going to absolutely stick with, Youth. Youth is my pick.
Can I change my pick? How's that work? What's the rule?
Yeah, no, you can. I mean,
yeah, I think it's Exotic Youth. And in a minute, when we say our War Game teams, heavyweight title match, White Mike. This would be his. He has been the champion. He won that title in January when Cruel was stripped of the title, went in a 4-way match. And Billy Brash kind of getting that one-on-one opportunity. Billy Brash is a former IWE heavyweight champion. White Mike has not made a lot of friends in IWE this year. There's part of me that thinks that this is Billy Brash's night. If you're going to do a title change, to me, this is the night because in January, it's all about War Games.
Correct.
So I'm going to pick Billy Brash. I think he walks out the champion.
Yeah, I think that's if we're getting the seeds of change started, like this is the first good, hey, let's get because if we don't, let's say we don't. Let's say things go sideways at War Games. Listen, we've been super positive. There's lots of positive, and I'm going to ask one question just to make sense. It's a good question. One of the criticisms was the hierarchy had basically they've no desire to be the champion. Well, it's probably because White Mike's your heel champion.
Right.
You put Billy Brash as champion, and let's say they win War Games. Now they've got an excuse that it's okay for them to chase out and go after the top champion because of who he is. So I would say yes. I think it's got to be Brash for a multitude of reasons. Mike's been a great champion for them. They brought a bunch of talents in there. He's wrestled them or whatever. He's over in a heel way. He's over with the crowd. But I think it's probably time. I think they're ready. And by the way, it just seems like when I watch them on IWTV, like the fans are ready for Brash to be the guy.
Yes. Yes. Who? All right. Who do you think the War Game teams are going to be? Last year it was supposed to be 6-on-6. It ended up being 5-on-5. It's supposed to be 6-on-6.
Okay,
but
it's
who
5.
do you think? Okay,
I think it's going to be 5. We're going to stick with that. And can I? You go first, and I'm going to tell you why.
All right, this is what I'm going with. I'm going with the 3 members of All Star Special, Killjoy, and Fluffman. And they're going to take on Kenway, Murder One, Joe Black, Suge D, and I think that 5th person, I think Owen Knight may turn on his partners. And it's Owen Knight. Owen Knight has always been a Kitchens guy. And Kitchens has always been an Owen Knight guy. But I do think Blackman wins control of the company back at this War Games.
We'll go into the whys, but here that's down the road. We definitely do something on a Patreon or something about that. So I think there's the four obvious one. I think the mystery is the fifth man on both teams.
Yes.
Just because I think it's, like you said, I think it's All Stars, the three gotta be's, hierarchies, the three gotta be's. But then it's like, hey, Suge, I think Suge is four. He was associated with the hierarchy. So then there's the fifth. And then I think you're right. Fluffman's probably got to be, that guy.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. I will tell you on Patreon why I can't tell you on the air.
Okay.
So there's that.
I do know there are things you know. There are things we both know that I have forgotten.
Yeah.
Which is why my picks are what they are.
Yeah. If for the hierarchy, they've had trouble with Skrilla. He's broken off. It's part of why I don't think he would go away. I don't know this part. Full disclosure, I'm not telling you this part.
Yeah.
I would not be stunned to see Skrilla as the fifth man for the hierarchy team.
Okay.
Just based on everything that's happened, I think there's the history there. Could they get him back? 100%. So the fifth man on the other side could be everywhere. You know what I mean? I'm like, could it be Owen Knight? Is Sean Legacy going to be back by then? Is it going to? You know what I mean? There's there's 100 reasons of guys that I can say. By the way, let's say Billy Brash wins the title. Why can't he be the fifth man? Because if it's all about the War Games, why would you not put your baby champion in the match?
Yeah, especially if he wants for Blackman to have the control back.
He would rather have Black. So look, I can sit here and tell you all of these reasons why it should be them.
Let's 100%. I don't care. Let's do a Patreon when we're done with this, because there's some other things I want to get into that would be behind the paywall of
okay, absolutely. Yeah. So guys, that is, like I said, absolutely show of the week. Big show this weekend. IWE Augusta, Georgia, at the American Legion there, 7 p.m. bell time. Give them a follow on social media. Specifically, if you want to go to their Facebook page, you can go ahead and buy your tickets early, get them on there. Again, IWE this Saturday. It's the Kings of Controversy show. Absolutely one of the biggest shows they do all year. Check them out. It should be, like I said, we just went down a loaded card. Should be a blast. Also on Saturday in Suwanee, Georgia, Southern Violence and Wrestling returns to the Monkey Wrench Brewing, 7 p.m. bell time. I promise you it's actually going to happen this time. I announced this show like 2 weeks ago, and I had the date wrong. Totally my apologies. I apologize to those guys. Dante Darko versus Axel Foley for the Southern Violence title. The Fade Area Militia is going to wrestle Nitrous and Dax Anthony for the tag titles. Aaron Black versus Brandon Watley for the Hoss Fight title. Terry the Rocker Lawler is going to be there defending his GCW title in a four-way with Ashton Martin, Jeremy Prater, and Soraya Saber. Four-way intergender for the GCW. Terry Lawler's defense. That's crazy. Ton more. If you have not been to that venue, it is super close to the house. It's a very good venue. Yes. They usually have food. They have drink. Everything. It's a small, intimate venue. It's a blast, and you'll have a great time. Again, check them out, Southern Violence and Wrestling. Before I move on, my apologies. Anything to add for the Southern Violence card?
No, you're good. That's a very fun place to watch a show, and it sounds like Southern Violence has been a really good partner with Monkey Wrench Brewing.
Absolutely. Also in Cornelia, it's a one-off show. Levi's House is presenting one night only. It is in Cornelia. If you're familiar with OSWA, I believe it's in the same building there. So check them out. Bell time is 7 p.m. Cody McCulley versus Alex Keitel in a death match. These two guys have been. They are not strangers to each other. They are brothers. They're partners, and they are enemies at times. So just so they probably will go in there. Who knows? The problem with you fight a brother is you will get as dirty as they come because there's just less restraint against the brother. The Unrated will wrestle Azrael and Crystal Rose in a TLC match. That's right, a TLC match. Bull rope match, Jerry Nelms versus Jamie Holmes. Jacob Ashworth versus Chop Top. Curtis Coleman's going to be wrestling a mystery opponent. That's right. Curtis Coleman looks like he's reemerging. That should be fun. Look, if you're, because everything is essentially going to be south.
Yes.
If you're up north in that North Georgia, check them out again at the OSWA building.
Yeah, this is your option. And this is, I've heard Cody McCulley, talk about this on Facebook. And this show is like a labor of love for him and what they're wanting to do. And this really is a case of some guys just wanted to have certain types of matches, and to have that avenue, the venue, the opportunity to do that, no one is going to mail it in on this show. And so if you're into, and listen, Cornelia, Georgia, Lord knows they love some blood and guts, so you're going to get plenty of it Saturday night.
Yeah, and so again, that is Levi's House presents one night only there in Cornelia. NAWA Classic returns to Rome at the Anthony Center. The bell time is 7:30 p.m. It's going to have like Action Mike Jackson. How old is Action Mike Jackson? Is he a science experiment? I mean, he's still out here working
and working well.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, I didn't mean that in a negative way, in the great way. He's still getting in there and working.
Yeah, his body did not get the memo. We talked about, Mike Tyson earlier. Somebody said, I saw a lot of things, Father Time is undefeated. Not with Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson's proven everybody wrong.
Right? So you're going to have Zero, Chris Kamikaze, Kevin Ryan, Nate Wild, Big Andy, a whole bunch more there up in Rome, Georgia at NAWA Classic. Sunday, we keep that pedal to metal because I'm excited about Sunday. Some huge things going on. AEW, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, returns to the Meta Multimedia building there in Atlanta, Georgia. The bell time is 6 p.m. Make sure you're paying attention to the Sunday times because they're all over the place at times. But AEW runs at 6 p.m. there. The big news coming out literally the day we recorded this, Carly Bravo will face O'Shea Edwards for that Georgia Wrestling Crown Championship.
Two guys that, started their careers in Atlanta, but I don't know that they've ever crossed paths. They may have been on a show together at IW. So this is going to be contrast in styles, a huge test for Carly Bravo. Carly Bravo put out the challenge a month or so ago. This may be one of those mornings he wakes up and like, man, I don't know about it. I don't know about that.
The thing I know about these two, I know both of these guys fairly well. I don't claim, O'Shea Edwards he was a guest on our show more than anybody ever. Mm-hmm. He's been interviewed more than anyone ever on the Tapped Out Podcast Network. Carly Bravo, I was early on that train, massive fan. It will be absolutely impossible for me to pick a winner in this match because I think so highly of both guys. Both guys, as you put it, will wake up the next morning and realize that they were in there with, it's not going to be a night off for either one of these guys. They are going to absolutely go out there. So I always make challenges about putting matches together to get me to come to a show.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, folks, and I want you to consider this about when you're buying. You should buy your ticket to this show. I could watch the show on Facebook Live. I want to see this match in person.
Yes.
This will possibly, and more than likely, God forbid, because of what we got Saturday and then Sunday, if I can get all the chores and all that kind of stuff done, I want to go to the show. You should want to go to this. This is the kind of match we've been asking for in Georgia wrestling. So now that you're getting it, put your money where your mouth is and buy a ticket and go see it. It's that simple. These two guys, this match alone should get you down there.
Yes,
that's just my opinion.
I am free Sunday night, and this might be in the cards for this weekend.
Also on the card, the DCVC Murder One Joe Black going to take on the Lost family, Lev and Thorne, for those tag team titles there. We talked about strangleholds on titles. Good luck. I don't know how they think they're going to pry those titles away from Murder and Joe. Just not going to happen. I haven't seen a team come through AWE that can do it yet. So good luck with that. Oh, and by the way, on top of that, Donald Jakes is banned from ringside.
Yes.
So that's a massive disadvantage for for Lev and Thorne. Just my opinion. Take it for what you will. Lots of other things, but those two matches alone, to me, are the headliners that should get you up off the couch and get you down to Atlanta. Meta Multimedia, 6 p.m. bell time, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. Last but not least, Renegade Independent Pro Wrestling is running in Atlanta at the Kages Sports Hall. Their bell time is 5 p.m. Again, that's why I tell you, pay attention on these times on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Teriyaki versus Trevor Aeon. That match will be for the RIPW Southeastern title. The Wealth with Chainmail versus the Saturday Night Temptations for the tag titles. Rose Gold versus Soraya Saber. Damon Tangra, he's got an open challenge for his Bulgarian Heavyweight Championship. Lamar Diggs versus Brother Azrael for the Social Media Shoutout title. Matt Sells, my fourth favorite wrestler. Mr. Danger, go one-on-one. Sean Montana versus Chick Donovan.
Chick Donovan, did he drink from the Mike Jackson Fountain of Youth?
Apparently so. That's all I'm going to say is apparently so. The Pump Line and Robin Shaw versus the Fade Area Militia. Pretty stacked card. Does anything on that card jump out to you? Like you're like, on the,
I say it all the time. I am constantly trying to familiarize myself with more and more of Georgia wrestling. And just about every one of those matches is a title match. So if you're in the Atlanta area, that's a lot going on right there. And that looks to be a very entertaining card.
Oh, it should be a blast, man. Look, between Matt Sells is going to entertain you, Teriyaki and Trevor Aeon that's going to be your banger match that everybody talks about. Like they're going to go out there. I could sit there and go match about why, what to look forward to in each one of those. So check them out again. Give them a follow. I'll tag them on social media. Renegade Independent Pro Wrestling, RIPW. They run, like I said, in Atlanta at the Kages Sports Hall, bell time 5 o'clock. Lots and lots of stuff to go on. But look, before we keep moving on, I do want to stress to everybody, look, with all of the changes going on the network, where we are moving all of the member stuff to Patreon, patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Absolutely, without a doubt, it's where all of the good stuff's going to be. You can still go to tappedoutpod.com, which will take you to our YouTube channel. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notifications on. Still going to get the regular shows. They're still going to dump like always. And then, of course, occasionally there'll be some extra stuff on there. But everything, and I mean everything, and all the new stuff, all the extra stuff, everything, because the limits are just off the charts with Patreon. Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Please, YouTube members, if you are a member, check your emails, check your messages, make those transitions over to the Patreon. The incentive was sent out for you to make that move now, not sooner than later. But look, it's we appreciate all the support. We absolutely do.
Absolutely.
Well, man, look, this is going to be tough. We're going to try. As you probably noticed, Myron is not sitting here with me this week. And I'm going to let you kind of explain why, because it's probably not going to make it out of me.
Yeah. So late last week,
you know what? Hold on. I'm going to try because I would. Shit. Sorry. I said I can do this. And
No. For those of you that are friends with Myron on Facebook, his stepson died late last week, and we're all still in shock about it. And at the end of the day, this is just a little podcast that we do. It gives us a lot of joy. I know for Myron, it has been a huge thing in his life, and I can't imagine. My wife passed away almost 6 years ago. I can't imagine losing a child. And so, wherever you're at in life, thoughts, prayers, positive vibes, all of those. If you're friends with Myron on Facebook, I would encourage you, man, reach out, send him a message. He and his family just need all the support they can get right now. And
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I know some people are kind of like, obviously we love our buddy, right?
right, absolutely.
But some people actually know Charleston.
Yeah.
He came to WrestleCade with us a couple years. He's done some shows with us. He was kind of like our errand boy at WrestleCade, a couple years. It was kind of fun. We always joke, he was a pain in the butt, and all that kind of stuff. We did. But, we, I've been friends with his mom for a long time. And, it sucks.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that sums it up. It just absolutely sucks. It is heartbreaking. I remember when you called me, I just kind of had to shut my door in the office. But as you can imagine, their entire family still just in shock. Like it's still not a real thing. But
and you obviously can see why I tried to do this at the end and not the beginning. Because I was afraid I wouldn't get through it. It's I can't even imagine. We have kids. I can't even wrap my head around it. It sucks for my buddy.
Yeah.
My friend, his mom. So, just the best thing to do is keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And, we've obviously, I've talked to him multiple times and said, look, when he's ready to come back, Myron will be back. He's going to fill in until then. And,
right.
If you don't see, like I said, if you could, when you see me at a show and you ask, just shoot him a message. Like I said, I'm sure he would appreciate it. I know him well enough to know that, anybody just saying, hey, thinking about you, on social media, he would greatly appreciate that, especially on social media. So, and we'll leave it at that. We'll stop there and, just kind of keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's very appreciative of all the support. And it's in times like this. I know for me, when my wife passed away, the wrestling community surrounded me, supported me so well. It's such a loving, supporting community. And we're all grateful for this outlet, this fun thing that we get to do. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, man, we hate to end on a bummer note like that, but unfortunately, life happens, and but like I said, we appreciate all the friendships we've made and all the connections and the support that we get. But that's all I've got today. You got anything else, man?
I got nothing.
Well, what's the old saying, man? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.